Hi everybody, I'm Joe Parker of the Pixel Depot, and welcome to the first installment in a series about adding a new industry, Cambridge Iron and Metal, to the Monument City Terminal Division. This channel is about model railroading, including planning, hints, tips, how-tos, and updates. To stay up to date, click on the subscribe button. Also click on the bell so you'll get notified when there's new content available. And as always, if you click on the thumbs up to like this video now, you won't have to worry about it later. This is the location where Cambridge Iron and Metal will be on the layout when I'm finished. Overall, here's where it resides on the track plan. Scrapyards make great industries to model and operate, and this one in particular has been an industry I wanted to include on the layout for a long time. As a result, it's been in and out of various track plan iterations as I tried to find the right place for it. Originally, I hadn't planned to have anything rail-served in this location at all, as you can see from this footage from my March 2019 layout update video. But I was struggling to figure out what to put here scenically. That's when the light bulb went on and it occurred to me that with a little license I could include it on this turnback loop and add a little extra operating interest with very little extra work. Cambridge Iron and Metal was founded in 1909 by Isaac Shapiro. 3 generations of the Shapiro family operated it, and it was a mainstay in Canton until December 2015 when the company announced it was closing. It featured prominently in the track and street map books that I bought from the Baltimore and Ohio Historical Society. I'll include a link to the B&O Historical Society below. So, it was something I wanted to include if I could. I mean, who can't use a scrapyard on their layout? As you can see, it features an interesting location and some very interesting structures. It appears from the maps that in the past it was served by both the B&O and the Canton Railroad on 2 different spurs, but I'm not 100% certain of that, so if you have more information, please include it in the comments below. Luckily, adding the spur was a pretty simple affair. I had enough space to cut it in among the cold junction track work without having to move anything else. I say I, but during one of my monthly layout work sessions, my friend Tom was actually the one who installed and wired the turnout and the spur trackage, while I was doing other equally important things. Here's the way the spur looked after Tom finished installation, but before my modifications. Here the chassis mainline track is code 100, but I didn't want the spur to be so hefty, so it transitions to code 83 track. Still way too large to be prototypical for industrial track, but once it's weather you don't notice it quite so much. I also wanted to get that buried in the ground feel, so it transitions from cork roadbed under the code 100 track down to being laid right on the layout surface where the code 83 track is. I use ceiling tiles for my sub-roadbed, so it lays right on the ceiling tile. The ceiling tiles are easy to shape, they take track nails fairly well, and have a natural color that works well with dirt and other ground cover. You see here that originally the code 83 section out of the box had many perfectly aligned ties. Way too dense for an industrial spur. This is industrial trackage that will be buried in the dirt, so it wouldn't be the most well-maintained piece of track on the system for sure. And it certainly wouldn't have the density of ties that mainline track would. So to get the effect I was looking for, I decided to remove a bunch of ties. I also decided to shorten the length of the spur track. As shown, it would hold 4 gondolas and a locomotive. Way more than I needed. So I cut it down to hold a locomotive and 2 gondolas, which increases scenic possibilities in this little semicircle. To do this, I started by cutting off and removing the excess track. I do this using a Dremel with a cutoff disc. I always wear safety glasses. Over the years I've had way too many things bounce off my face to take any chances. Once cut to the right length, I carefully pulled up the track. I say carefully because, of course, Tom had already wired it and I didn't want to damage the drops. Now I could cut the ties and start to pull the unneeded ones off. I use a Craftsman Handy Cut tool for this. I bought this tool a long time ago and somewhere along the line discovered it was perfect for this task. I eyeballed it, and once I felt like the right number of ties had been removed, I carefully pushed the track back down flat and checked the alignment. In this case, as you can see, the alignment where the code 100 track meets the code 83 track was, well, awful. However, when I tested it, the cars seemed to hold the track, even with the kink. It was far from perfect, but again, this is industrial track that wouldn't have the best maintenance. I fiddled with it for a while to try and improve it, with only moderate success. Going against my nature a little bit, I figured as long as it didn't cause derailments, I was okay with it, and I left it in place. Tom, however, was not okay with it, and he spent the time to fix it properly during our next modeling session. After doing this testing, I tacked down the track to ensure the final alignment. I added a number of new holes for track nails into the ties that remained to make sure that things would stay put. Then I painted the track. As I mentioned, I intend to cover the entire area with dirt and gravel and wanted it to appear that the tracks were buried. Even with Code 83 rail, I would have needed a significant amount of material to build up the dirt to track level. I decided to add a layer of cork around the track instead, which means I can have a thin layer of dirt just about everywhere, and the only place I need to use a lot of material to get to track level will be immediately around the track. I painted the cork a dark brown color so that once I add the scenic material, it will blend more naturally, and if it gets damaged, it won't look so out of place. However, I won't actually be adding the dirt until I'm more certain of where structures and other scenic elements will end up. Here's the spur in operation as it appears today. So that's all for this episode. In the next installment, we'll start work on the main building and talk a little bit about some goofs I made when putting that cork down. If you have thoughts, suggestions, or questions, please include them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and think others would enjoy it as well, please click the thumbs up to like it and tell your friends. I'm Joe Parker of the Pixel Depot. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll meet me next time in the train room.